maybe they're making eye contact. Diddy making eye contact over there. And they're like, oh, okay, this ain't good. This ain't good. This going to be the one jury that's going to fuck the case up. Diddy giving this person eye contact, you know what I mean? Nah. So I think it's much more than just the person living in Jersey. Much more, but let's keep going.
And by the way, today, Christina Cororum has maybe come up more in these exhibits, in this evidence from this summary witness, more than throughout this trial. Question from Mikey John. Elizabeth, are you surprised that KK wasn't called to the stand yet?
Yes, absolutely. Like that, no brainer. I'm truly surprised that she's not being called as a government witness, especially because they have her devices. She could be somebody who could really kind of tie up the loose ends or maybe answer the questions that a lot of us still have in our brains. And so I'm really surprised that, especially as we're trickling down to the end of the government's case, that the next witness isn't Christina Cororum. And I'm wondering at this point, is it possible the defense might call her? And if the defense does call her, what that could look like. And so I'm really and truly surprised that they're using her devices.
Now, let me say this. Let me put my input in on this. Anybody who ain't show up for the prosecutor, I think they're available to show for the defense, but why do it? Don't open Pandora's box. Because yes, they got some of their messages, say D-Rock messages, KK messages, but you don't want to put KK up there and the state says, got this bitch. Not state, I mean the government, federal government. We got this bitch. We've been trying to get her to, we need her up there for a week. We're going to do our recross because at that point, Diddy's team is doing direct because it's going to be a defense case. They're going to say, we need her up there for a week because she's integral to the case. We're going to break her down like a kilo of coke. So it's kind of like Tory situation. Me personally, I wholeheartedly believe that Tory knew what that driver was. I think Tory knew what that driver was. The driver was a little bit antsy because some stuff he can't get up there and lie. That's perjury. Some stuff could be hurtful to Tory. And I think they said because they don't want him up there maybe saying, yeah, I seen Tory put hands on a woman. Or I don't know what happened. I think they opted for him to show up the last day. I don't think nobody contacted him and he showed up the last day. The state said we couldn't find that nigga. And he just walked into court the last day. I think Tory had him under the, but I think that was a bad move by Tory. Tory's team, in my opinion, y'all got 4 people in a car, 3 dumb drunk, 1 threw up or passed out for hours. That's Kelsey. Meg got kicked out. She's being belligerent. She's being extra drunk. Tory's lit. If you got that nigga under the tuck, have him just come out and say, yo, everybody was drunk but me. I'm the driver. I'm the security. This what happened. Now, they might be like, well, you're Tory's security. You're Tory's driver. So how should we believe you? But fuck that. Fuck all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? That becomes the point. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think they didn't want to open up that guy to cross-examination, which this is why when we think about a Diddy case, why bring KK up there? KK is accused of doing the same shit as you. Why bring her up there if Diddy not taking a stand? Just don't bring her. So I don't think KK taking a stand. I just don't know how she's not taking a stand without her not being in jail. They've threatened everybody else in this case. It's clear. Brendan Paul, Brendan Paul got his state charges resolved. Why is he taking a stand? You think he's a volunteer snitch? I get it. Maybe some of y'all do. But he's taking a stand because they threatened his ass. Nigga, we will charge you as part of this RICO. You was bringing that man drugs and helping him drug women. So, nigga, if you don't take the stand, you part of this shit. How KK ain't get no threats? Why is she not up there? I don't know. I don't know how she avoids it. But Diddy's team has said, our lawyer speaking to her lawyer. I don't know how she's avoided being up there, but let me, I digress.
The government is, but they're not calling her as a witness. So yes, definitely surprised there.
And we have a question from Allison Thompson about the judge, Judge Arun Subramanian. What has the judge's body language been like? Do you get any vibes as to which side is favored? Well, the judge shouldn't favor any side, but Do you get a? I mean, we don't know how he's behaving, what his demeanor's like. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so as far as the judge's demeanor, all across the board from what I've seen so far during this trial and even during the pre-trial hearings, is that he's very fair. Like, it's never a situation where you're kind of like, oh, he's a little pro-government here or he's a little pro-defense here. He really kind of gives both sides their wins when it's applicable, right? And even as in terms of just his body language while listening to the testimony, and if there's an objection from one side, so for example, if the defense has an objection to the prosecution's line of questioning, he kind of gives the prosecution a little bit of leeway to be like, okay, maybe you want to rephrase that question so that way we can get rid of the objection, so that way we can continue on with the proceedings. And then if there's a point where, you know, there's an objection, there has to be a discussion that's had in the sidebar, he's willing to do a sidebar. And so from the most part, and this should be how every judge kind of operates a courtroom, I think you should always take notes from Judge Arun Subramanian. He is above board, he is fair on both sides, and really it's never a situation where you have to feel like he is, or you think that he is biased in any sort of way.
Let me get another question to you, Elizabeth, before we have to let you go.
Look up KK and who her family is. Christina Cororum. Who's her family? Who's her family? She's been the most elusive person out of everything. I don't even think we've heard her speak publicly.
Everything in my life and my business running. She named in a lawsuit by a former producer for Combs. Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. When Rodney Little Rod Jones filed that lawsuit against Sean Combs and many others, Christina Cororum was one of the people named as a defendant in the suit. And I want to be crystal clear. Sean Combs has vehemently denied these allegations. His attorney, Sean Hawley, has been quoted as saying they've tried to present evidence to Little Rod's attorney to disprove the claims, but they've been rebuffed. So that would make anything Little Rod claimed about Christina Cororum untrue as well in Combs' eyes. No attorney is listed for Christina Cororum on the federal court's website. Corum's now deleted LinkedIn account has said that she joined Bad Boy Entertainment back in 2013 and became Combs' day-to-day manager, later becoming director for the officer of the chairman. And the chairman, of course, is Diddy. She was promoted to Diddy's chief of staff back in 2020, and she's very important to him. Combs has even written about her on social media. Meet Christina Cororum, chief of staff at Combs Enterprises. Christina, aka KK, keeps everything in my life and my business running. She's been my right hand for the last 8 years and has consistently proven to execute and get S-word done. Don't know how I'd function without her. In another post, Diddy wrote, "Happy birthday to my ace boon coon, my right hand, my day-to-day manager that keeps my world twirling, and she's always got my back. She makes sure that I smile every day and I don't go into those dark places. Today is your day. It's your mother effing birthday. Go KK, it's your birthday. Love you at Christina Cororum." Combs clearly values Christina Corum's work and his relationship with her. The lawsuit Lil Rod filed makes some disturbing and salacious claims against Cororum, and again, Combs has denied what's in that lawsuit. First, Lil Rod has claimed that Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Cororum, also known as KK, instructs her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide them to Mr. Combs for his consumption. A footnote in the lawsuit that Little Rod filed says, Defendant Cororum instructed her staff, Brendan Paul, Frankie Santella, and Moy Bond, to spike bottles of champagne with ecstasy. Upon information and belief, this occurred the day of December 31st, 2022, New Year's Eve party. Lil Rod claims he complained to Cororum about sexual advances from Combs, and she responded, "Sean will be Sean," and downplayed Combs groping him as horseplay, stating, "He's just showing that he likes you." Jones also called Cororum the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein, claiming she required employees to walk around with fanny packs of cocaine, GHB, and ecstasy to keep Combs high, and much more. Gene Rossi is a former federal prosecutor. So, Gene, there's this allegation that Christina Cororum, the chief of staff for Sean Combs, is ordering drugs through this guy, Brendan Paul, the so-called drug mule, and ordering employees to run around with black fanny packs that carry these drugs so that Sean Combs can be high all of the time. That seems like typical Hollywood stuff, possibly. What's the crime in that potentially as far as the feds are concerned?
Well, in my view is you have a potential, they did a search warrant. The federal government did a search warrant, Southern District of New York. That is bad in itself because Southern District of New York is one of the top 3 or 4 U.S. attorney's offices in the country. That is very bad for Mr. Combs and the other defendant and Ms. Cororum. The second thing is the federal charges that they're probably investigating are a criminal RICO, money laundering, a Mann Act violation, which involves sex trafficking, interstate transport of minors. It could involve a lot of charges. So let me focus on.
That was a year ago before the indictment.
On the allegation. It seems, according to the allegation, that Ms. Cororum was a purchaser of large amounts of drugs that went to Mr. Combs, but I can't help but believe that these employees were also providing these drugs to the victims, to other customers, not just the employees and Mr. Combs. So it wasn't just drugs, in my view, for Combs alone. It was probably used by the employees and also used by the victims of this crime.
There's a particularly disturbing allegation that Christina Cororum, according to this lawsuit, was ordering people to spike bottles of champagne for a New Year's Eve party a couple of years back and ordering them to spike it with certain drugs. And then the claim is that maybe there were minors at this party and things like that. What trouble could she be in regarding that allegation?
Well, it's part of the sex trafficking. And when it involves minors, that takes it up a notch. And it's either a separate federal statute or it's a sentencing enhancement. But when you're engaging in illegal conduct, if you're engaging in illegal conduct involving a minor, okay, in the context of sex trafficking, I can tell you this from my experience, that is like steroids and rocket fuel for an aggressive prosecutor. And as I said at the beginning, you have the Southern District of New York plus exploitation of minors.
Little Rod, who sued Sean Combs, many other people, including Christina Cororum, basically calls her the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs's Jeffrey Epstein. So that's a very serious statement to make, a serious claim to make. Sean Combs denies all of this. What are your thoughts on what kind of trouble she could potentially be in if this is true, if these allegations that they're running this RICO organized crime enterprise so Sean Combs can bring in people to have sex with and use drugs with and groom for his, sexual fantasies and things like that? What kind of trouble could she be in if she's arranging these trysts and then buying drugs to ply people with?
All right. Here is the big problem for Ms. Cororum by being compared to Ghislaine Maxwell. Number one, you have the same district, the Southern District of New York, investigating Mr. Combs and Mr. Cororum too, Ms. Cororum. So the Southern District of New York already has a template for an indictment. Essentially, all you do is change the name. But I'm sure the same scheme, the same statutes, it's just take this template, this indictment that was used for Miss Maxwell, and probably the same prosecutors are going to take it and insert Mr. Combs and Miss Cororum, and it's going to be Jeffrey Epstein too. So those are bad facts and practices that are facing Mr. Combs and Miss Cororum. And I got to tell you, I predict it will probably take about 4 to 6 months for the agents to analyze the results of the search warrants in LA and in Florida of Mr. Combs' homes. They'll go through data, documents, and all that. It'll probably take 4 to 6 months. I predict that there will be a federal indictment, if I had to bet money, by the Southern District of New York in probably September or October of this year. And I would be shocked if it doesn't include Mr. Combs and Miss Cororum and others on this list. I see I see Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, that was from before. Okay.
This is from Lisa 5472. How was Diddy when they finally said the juror was dismissed?
I think he was a little bit disappointed, I'm not going to lie, especially given the long kind of defense letter that was put in over the weekend, given the arguments that were made by his defense attorneys. Outside of just Xavier Donaldson, it was also, Brian still did make a quick argument on Friday, but also Mark Agnifilo too. And so I think from what I could tell of just Diddy's body language and demeanor, it seemed like this was something he was kind of a little upset about as far as this particular juror being dismissed. And so, you know, it's interesting to see kind of how his movements have been so far ever since then, especially because we're seeing so many summary witness charts and all of this stuff, and they're putting all the pieces of the puzzle kind of in a chart format to the jury. But he did seem a little down and disappointed by this juror's dismissal today.
Elizabeth, before we dismiss you, before you have to head back into the courtroom, aside from just the kind and positive comments you've been receiving from our viewers, and at least one person who's concerned about when you're actually getting lunch and when you have time to eat, I did want to ask you this question from Shai. Please ask Elizabeth Milner, what is used to block the face of pseudonym witnesses?
Oh, that's a
What? Oh, they do not block the face of pseudonym witnesses. The witnesses we see inside the courtroom, they're fully present. We can see their faces. We can see their demeanor on the stand. Obviously, as I'm reporting kind of what they had been saying, I have to be extremely careful not to reveal their names. But as far as just any type of shielding that they use to kind of, you know, shield their physical appearance, none of that from what we see. Even in the overflow room, it's not a situation where the people in the overflow room are getting a box or anything like that in terms of covering this particular or covering the witness's face. And that's why there's been so many kind of issues after these witnesses have testified, even if it's during a break where people kind of, you know, might have a little bit of loose lips and they'll come out, they'll text their friends or do it in a live stream and reveal the witness's true identity. So there's nothing that we see covering their face. We see them all in full form.
And I appreciate you clarifying that, because, you know, when we put up the courtroom sketches and there's a blocked out face, people might believe that there's something that was used to cover their face. That's not the case. You just have to be very careful about not only describing, obviously not their identity, but even some physical characteristics or defining features where people might be able to determine who that person is. Elizabeth Milner, I know you have to jump back in court. Thank you so much. It was great seeing you.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, so now I want to continue the conversation when we have a few more minutes. Ali, I'll start with you. I get the question all the time. Do you think Sean Combs is going to...
Here we go. I'm going to play Logic. Logic's like the last one that we should be squarely back in the afternoon session. I don't even think... Is Logic even still there anymore? I feel like he pops in and out. Okay. We might be completely back. The Punisher is still moving around doing interviews. During the summary chart testimony, prosecutors docketed their letter not only about Juror 6, but the other juror. Who's the other juror? Okay. So the other juror looked like he was talking to somebody about the case. I don't know how they figured it out. All right, we'll figure it out. So much stuff redacted. Fuck. They just restarted again.
Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press. Here, midday. It's Monday, June 16th, day 24 of U.S. versus Sean Combs. Now, Juror 6 is out. That was the first decision before the jury came in. Juror 6, the judge said, I've considered it. I've considered all the arguments. I've seen the arguments about the racial issues raised. He didn't seem to like that very much. And he has excluded Juror 6. So alternate 1 has moved up. Now, came in today thinking that Brendan Paul, the alleged drug mule, Diddy's drug mule, would be a witness today, but it appears not, because the entire morning was spent on 2 summary witnesses. Ms. Sankar, who'd long been promised, and a new special agent who's going to apparently go for the rest of the day about meetings, basically testifying to a chart which shows airplane tickets being bought and hotel reservations being made, and surmising that these are the notorious freakoffs, hotel nights, king nights, wild king nights, as they were referred to this morning. The defense says no way. The defense says she has no personal knowledge that these meetings, quote unquote, ever took place, and so she shouldn't be allowed to ask the jury to draw that inference. Could go a little bit slow. So it looks like Brendan Paul, she's going to go into tomorrow. So will Brendan Paul, another summary witness on Wednesday, and then the government's going to rest. So they say. Friday we'll start the defense case with Vashta Wilson, a guy called Stefan Linda, even Agnifilo didn't know how to pronounce his name, and their own summary witness. And then apparently next week it looks like there'll be a defense expert witness. So we're getting down to the small strokes here. It looks like no KK, no D-Rock, although there was a lot of testimony about their cell phones today. Both of them apparently seized, but they haven't been indicted, and they're not testifying as cooperating witnesses. So many people wonder what the heck's going on here. And the defense case, at least, unless they're playing hide the ball, it looks like it might just, I don't know. There hasn't been any discussion of witnesses beyond that. Let's put it that way. So we're covering it. I forgot to mention this morning, Week 5 book is out. Week 5, Diddy on trial. It involves Kanye West. It has Juror 6, which has now been, that door is closed. Because now the Juror 6 didn't hear this morning. So
okay, so Kanye was supposed to come back today. He did not come back today. And pretty much we're wrapping this bitch up like very shortly in this week. Hopefully we'll get some of these exhibits that we could actually see, and we'll be able to, like, kind of crystallize it. Let me play a little bit of this is attorney. Is she there at the court? I think she's there at the court. Okay. I'm gonna play her for a second. I gotta go grab I ordered Chick-fil-A. I ain't gonna lie, Chad. I did.
Obtained from the seized cell phones from Diddy and from KK. She also played audio recordings. Here's some of the highlights. Number one, child. It gave evidence. We have concluded the drug distribution. By concluded, I mean they provided more than enough evidence of the substance distribution. Why? Child. The text message that were in there. Remember, these text messages are considered, how are the text messages being entered not considered hearsay? Well, they're not hearsay because they were obtained, number one, in the course of business. They were obtained lawfully through a subpoena. So in the same way, like I represent clients in serious auto accidents, like $1 million Uber cases and stuff like that. Well, if you're in a car accident, medical records, right? Medical records are hearsay generally, unless it falls into an exception. Well, because medical records are obtained as business records through the proper courses, that is why it's not hearsay. Similarly, these text messages are not hearsay. Now, all text messages can't get in. No, it has to include either someone who's going to take the stand or a co-conspirator. You got to have one of the two. That's how come each of the text messages that they're putting in either have a co-conspirator on it, or it includes Jane or Mia or Cassie or someone, hit that like, who's been on the stand. So excellent question, Angel. But that's why the text messages are not hearsay. Also, at the time that they were written, these are text messages like between KK and Diddy. At the time that they were written, they weren't trying to lie on anybody. They were literally conducting a business and conducting affairs. So let me give you an example of some additional juicy stuff from these text messages that goes towards proving the RICO. There was one, it was from KK to Cassie that said, hey, Dave, I guess that's one of the substance dealers. Dave's at your door with the green. Okay, that was like a little something. And then Diddy sends a text message to KK saying, hey, Guido's outside. Guido is the substance dealer. I said, Guido's outside waiting for the 10,000. Can you let Guido in and handle what needs to be handled? As in getting the substances that Diddy wanted, that Guido, it's already been established that Guido was the substance dealer through other witnesses. Hold on, we got some more. And this, stay with me, this isn't it. Also, y'all, if you've been hearing about TriStar is TriStar is an entity that does business management, okay? It manages money for various different artists. They're the ones who did Britney Spears's estate and her conservatorship, and we're supposed to be managing her money. People have all kind of concerns about them. Well, there's a woman named Robin Greenhill. That's who does the accounting, all the business management, all the numbers. I think it's stopped running. Great for Diddy. How Miss Thing is on these text message chains. So Robin, who is supposed to be the accountant, is on a text message chain that says, "Hey, I need approval." This is from Fahim, the security guard. "I need approval for $1,200 for flour." We know what flour is. Flour is cocaine. Flour is cocaine. Yeah, is a problem. It says we need $1,200 for flour today. Guido is waiting to deliver it. Guido again is a substance dealer, and then Robin is on the chain. Diddy is on the chain. Fahim and KK, and Diddy says approved. There's another one. This text string is KK, Diddy, oh girl, Robin. It says KK is texting Diddy, and Fahim says, "Well, what do you need?" Diddy responds, "Molly, 15 pills."
What?
You think it's a girl named Molly he trying to get? I don't. It's not no girl named Molly, honey. It's not no girl named Molly. And here's the issue: he's got his business accountant on the text string. He's approving the purchase of substances, which are then going to be used at freakoffs, at parties, at whichever. So the issue, oh, it could be pink flour. Yes, quote unquote, $1,200 for flour, and then later it was Molly, 15 pills. Here's another one. Oh yeah, there were multiple. They just kept going and going and going. No, there was also there was an interesting text string that was 2 weeks before Cassie's lawsuit came out, where Jane is texting KK and telling KK, "Hey, no more hotel nights. I want to celebrate." It was his birthday that's coming up. So this was November 2nd. His birthday is November 4th. Jane is saying, "No more hotel nights. I want to celebrate Diddy like a normal person." She said it got violent recently, and that she didn't want it to be that way. And there was no more hard partying for her. This was her providing evidence that she was trying to get out of the lifestyle. What was interesting with that was that happened in November 2nd of 23. That was before Cassie's lawsuit. But hold on, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back. Also, 3 days, 3 days after Cassie's lawsuit, in addition to her sending the message 2 weeks before, Jane says, Diddy sends her a voice note that says, "I can't talk on these phones. I called and I reached out, and it's just, I thought we both enjoyed what we were doing." Like, it literally sounded like Diddy was trying to kind of cover his butt, trying to cover his bottom, and Jane's crying on the phone, and she's like, "No, I just can't handle this anymore." And went back and forth. Also, there's a message where after the Cassie situation came out, KK sends a message to Diddy that says, "If you can't be honest with me, this won't work. You are lying, and you're lying to me." This is KK. She said, "You're lying to me will break me." KK is his personal assistant. Now, also, there was a message where KK sends to Diddy that says, "Make sure Robin's not doing anything dumb, like not paying her rent." Make sure Robin's not
that's the
doing
cover-up.
something dumb, like not paying her rent. Yo, that was interesting to me. And that was an exchange between KK and Diddy. Because that makes me wonder, okay, well, did y'all keep paying it after the Cassie situation? Because you didn't want any more legal issues and you knew the government was investigating you? I don't know. I want to get that transcript tonight and reread it again in context. But Jane sent a message the month after Cassie's lawsuit where she specifically says to KK and to Diddy, she says, "I was coerced into this dark lifestyle. Robin is the accountant for Combs Global." Okay. Robin, some people are asking, who is Robin? Robin is the accountant for Combs Global. So there were messages in there that were read into the record. Now, mind you, the purpose of this morning for the summary witness was to put in indisputable evidence of the text messages. Basically, they established that, hey, the reason these text messages are legit, there's no question about the authenticity, is because they were obtained during the legal search and seizure that happened in March of 24 on Diddy's plane. Remember, that was also where Brendan Paul, the substance mule, was found with a bunch of the substances and was arrested. Oh, there was this funny little text exchange. It was a text between Brendan and KK. And Brendan says, "Oh, yeah, I think tonight Diddy's going to be in Wild King mode." Yeah, oh, he said, "I think tonight's going to be wild. It'll either be like king mode active, like king night, or they were asking, is it going to be king mode active or like Gucci bag active? Gucci bag is where he keeps the substances." And so KK had asked that, and then he responded, somewhere in between type of active. In other words, they know like king nights is one level of wild. Gucci bag means the substances. Hit that like, guys, as you're coming in. Another level of wild. There was some evidence that Diddy called Mia 3 times in a day after the lawsuit came out with Cassie, and he wanted to basically kind of get ahead of it. Okay, we don't really care about that. Blah blah blah. Here's what we do care about: the RICO evidence. So, um, oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, also they also submitted evidence that Jane was decorating hotel rooms for the freakoffs and had flowers and made it look really nice and romantic. That was weird. That was put in by the defense. Okay, but now we're going to conclude, and I want to see your questions about the racketeering evidence. It's racketeering. Thank you for asking. He's charged with racketeering conspiracy. So what has to be shown, remember, is that we know there's an enterprise. It is called Combs Global Enterprises. But what has to be shown is that people from the enterprise, doesn't have to be every employee, but that some of them, hit that like, guys, that some of them are working together for a common goal. Fun fact, there is no requirement that the goal be profit. People get that wrong all the time. There does not have to be profit as the goal at all. They only need to show that it's a common goal. And here, the common goals are building up and protecting Diddy's brand of him being this powerful music mogul, but also to satisfy his sexual desires. Literally, it is in the indictment. I can't put the indictment on the screen from here, but literally, it's in the indictment. So those two things. So they have to show that he used his employees to sometimes do unlawful things, right? Unlawful offenses in order to either satisfy his desires or protect his image and his brand. That's it. Well, this evidence, what makes it such a stunner for the first time, remember I said prostitution is going to be one of the easiest things to prove? Well, we now have for the first time receipts of the prostitution, and they have been stipulated too. So specifically what that means is that the defense cannot come in and say, that's not an accurate receipt. He didn't really buy that flight for Jules Thompson, the hooker. No, the defense has already agreed that is a valid receipt. It is accurate. So they showed that one of the hookers, Jules Thompson, I believe he took the stand the first week or what have you. It showed there was a text message string between Diddy or KK and Jules, and there's a payment string. He was paid, the hooker was paid by the accountant, Tony something. I got her last name here. Tony Bias, financial director for Combs Global. You're paying hookers from your corporate account. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Oh yeah, shake that, babe. We're gonna shake. Oh, let me see if I get my, hold on. Let me see if I get my Astroglide. Hold on, y'all. It's all the way at the bottom of the bag. Okay, we're gonna shake that Astroglide, y'all. If you're new to the channel, that's usually what I do. I got a little Astroglide in my bag. I keep it. We shake it when there has been bombshells in the case. And so, yes, so they have a whole text exchange about this hooker, Jules Theodore is his last name, and how Jules specifically, remember, because the charge is transportation, transportation for prostitution. So you just have to show that there are 2 different states involved. Well, these exchanges specifically, not only do they show that in the text, but then the receipt shows it was for a flight from LA to New York or New York to Miami, from this city to this city. So that is where prostitution, RICO style, has been proven. Substance distribution, RICO style, has now been proven. Why? Because you got the doggone accountant of Combs Global, Combs Enterprises, approving and on message chains that says we need approved 15 Molly pills. Hello. Robin is going to, Robin's about to lose her license. Robin is the accountant. Robin is the accountant. It says, so are we saying the government proved all of Diddy's companies through its full? No, they don't have to do that. Let me put that on the screen. That's a great question. Chuck Love is saying, so are we saying the government proved all of Diddy's companies throughout its full history were just created for drugs and S trafficking? Absolutely not. Nor is that even a requirement. You can show that it was created to be a record label, to produce albums, to make music, but so long as he was also conspiring with them to execute crimes, and so long as some, it doesn't even have to be all of them, but execute crimes for a common good. Here, the common good was protecting his brand and satisfying his sexual desires. That's what's required. Nope. You could have been a company that did nothing but follow the rules for the last 20 years. If for the last 6 months you guys decide that you want to go pow people and unalive people, then that supports a RICO enterprise. So that's how that works, Chuck. Excellent question. Going straight to jail. Hit that like button. Jesus, how many times does Simone need to say the objective does not have? I'll put that on the screen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. Yes, Valerie. Thank you. Because I know people be jumping in and out of the chat. But yes, so this was the first time because so many people had said, well, they haven't submitted any receipts or any of that. Y'all, what happened was the government obtained accounting records, financial records, text messages, emails, all of that from Diddy's devices and from Combs Global. It started as Combs Enterprises throughout this time period, then it changed to Combs Global. And now, for the first time, they submitted into evidence actual receipts showing Diddy was paying the hookers, buying their flights, which is a part of the interstate commerce. Sorry, the transportation for prostitution. They nailed it. I don't know what to tell it. Yeah, the accountant needs to go to jail. Robin, that accountant, she's losing her license. She's losing her license. She is on a text string where the security guard is specifically saying, hey, I need approval for Guido needs to get the powder. We need 15 Molly pills. And oh girl is like, and Diddy is like approved, and oh girl executes it. Y'all, that's what RICO looks like. That's what RICO. And the reason it's able to flourish like that is because of the fact that it looks like a legitimate entity, right? That's part of the problem. Y'all, we got to pray for his kids because their trust funds gone. Their mom, Miss Janice wig, gone. All of Miss Janice's properties are gone. It does not matter that these properties are in Miss Janice's name. There's a property that's supposed to be in one of the daughters' names. It doesn't matter. They're gone. Once RICO is proven, then they are able to say any monies that were obtained related to the enterprise, gone. The wig is gone. Somebody said Miss Janice can refuse afford to lose the entire wig. Y'all terrible. Yeah, it says exactly. And I have never been a fan of Diddy, but yeah. So right now, what I'm saying is the evidence provided today, the RICO evidence is there for two things. And here's the thing, guys. Let's say a jury, one member of the jury is still like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to find him guilty of RICO. They still provided the evidence of the prostitution for transportation for prostitution. Because today, for the first time, we saw corporate documents from Combs Global showing where accounting approved and purchased flights from one state to another for the hookers. Come on, man. If there's anything that should not have had a paper trail, it would have been the hooker flights. And these are all male hookers that I'm talking about here. Oh, thank you. Somebody said I'm more interesting than Judge Judy. So y'all let me know in the chat. How do you Tell me if there's a way. You guys would be the jury. You guys would be jurors. Tell me if there's a way that you think he could get out of this prostitution charge. I don't see it. Because remember, the difference between prostitution and S trafficking is S trafficking requires a level of coercion, force, or fraud. Prostitution just says, hey, I want to be paid to do it to somebody and do it to somebody. That's it. So I say that to say, even if he's found not guilty on the S trafficking, even if he's found not guilty on the RICO, which I don't think because of what I described earlier, evidence today has solidified the prostitution across state lines at the bare minimum. But more than that, it has proven up the RICO enterprise because you got text messages talking about drug distribution where the accountant is approving the release of funds to buy the substances. And then tomorrow is when we are going to have on the stand. Thank you so much for those super chats. We're going to have on the stand tomorrow, Brennan Paul. It says, so this morning's, hit that like button, please, and thank you. It says, I don't think Robin Greenhill is a real accountant because
You know what I'm realizing too? I think the prosecutors must have met over the weekend and they must have said to each other like, yo, we still haven't fully proven this RICO. They keep trying to shore it up. Why not bring Brendan Paul in earlier? They're trying to bring Brendan Paul in. They're putting summary witness up there to try to make this make sense. I think the prosecutors are nervous they didn't prove RICO. I think I'm with Simone here. I definitely think they proved prostitution. I don't think they proved sex trafficking. Not sex trafficking, nor the RICO. Especially the enterprise portion.
yeah, Robin is just doing stuff. But that would explain if she's not a true accountant, why she's so tied. She loves having celebrity clients and why she would just approve whatever. Now that makes me wonder what the hell was she over there improving in Britney Spears' case? Because if this woman has the type of judgment where she would allow herself to be on text message strings approving.
Simone, fuck with you and everything, but put it like this. When you deal with celebrities, you're at their discretion. Doctors will write a prescription for anything for a celebrity. An accountant is going to write anything off if a celebrity asks. That's the point of working for a celebrity. Usually for celebrities, there's so much power, money imbalance. You don't tell them, no, according to they usually get rid of you. If you're like, well, no, I can't do that according to the law. You think Diddy's taking that? You're fired. He's going to get the accountant that will. And then that accountant gets paid 40% more than every other accountant, and then they do what he needs to be done. Okay? When I tell you send X to X and to X to Y and A to B, like just do it.
$3,500 for powder and flour. Flour is what they called it. Then she don't have no good sense. Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the super chat, Hudson. She says KK is the new Ghislaine Maxwell. So KK is the CEO. KK is not taking the stand. And I now see why. KK, not the CEO, chief of staff. KK was Diddy's chief of staff. I now understand. They didn't put her on the stand because they got everybody else. And they've now got these stipulated text messages that are undisputable to show how she's on messages like these substance messages. It might be better to not give her an immunity deal because now you can go get her. Now you can go get her, but you know she can't fight, so she's not going to do too good in the feds. It says this is a reach. Thank you, Michael. It says this is a reach. If Diddy is guilty of this nonsense, then so is the entire elite class in the country, including the president. This is a monumental reach. Now, which part? I think he could have been okay if he wasn't committing arson and kidnapping people. I think that might be for some people where it was like time to stop him. But also, let's be real here. Some people feel that this is the time for Diddy, this is the time for Diddy to get prosecuted now for all the things he got away with before. But how do you feel about that with the law? Do you think it's fair to use the law today to get somebody on stuff you couldn't get them on before? So, for example, remember it was alleged that he was actually the gunman, and that Shine did not do it, but, took the rap for it. So some people are like, well, now it's due time. I don't know about that logic. I don't know, guys. I meet, what you saying? Brandon Paul is standing by. Listen, I did, if you look at my video I released yesterday on Brandon
I'm
Paul,
gonna do half a shot.
literally in May 16th of
Not fucking
2024,
full shot.
I told y'all that Brandon would be a star witness for the feds. This was before Diddy was ever charged. I said that in May of 24. Diddy didn't even get indicted and arrested until September. But I said they're going to get everything they need out of Paul because that boy was a college basketball player at Syracuse. That boy can't go to jail. Nope, nope, nope. Yep. So Brandon Paul is going to be on the stand tomorrow telling it all. Ooh, Hudson, what you got here? It says, if the staff accountant could prove extortion, can she survive and keep her license? Well, she wasn't extorted though. If anything, she assisted with the extortion of Cassie's parents. So, but I mean, if she could, yes, then she would become a victim. That would be true. But she would have needed to jump on the bandwagon and file a lawsuit herself, Robin Greenhill, and she has not. Thank you, Stacey Renee. Thank you so much for the super sticker, y'all. All right, so share this. I'm going to go back in the courtroom. We've got some afternoon testimony. I promised you guys I'd keep it under 30 minutes. I have. Love you guys. It's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. I'll do an update this evening. But RICO, woo, it's done. Prostitution is done. We'll talk more about it after court.
All right. Getting back into court here. We have a special agent that is on the stand. Let's try to get some tweets in here. They break. Okay, before the break. So they bring on the special agent. They objected first. They have a sidebar. Then they're now trying to get the special agent to testify to certain shit. Who's testifying on this chat? Jules Combs. Jules saying I'm available through that, blah, blah. So where were the flights between LA and JFK, New York? Do documentation retention policies impact your ability to get documents? Yes, I couldn't get these records. So it looked like based on, remember, Jules was fucking with Diddy and Cassie back in like 2010. Like it was pretty early, 2010, 2011. They're saying that the airlines didn't have those documents that they needed. So they had to go off maybe bank records or something like that, right? They take a break for lunch. The jury out, they said, should we address Mr. Brendan Paul now? AUSA says, better tomorrow morning. The judge says, well, would the special agent be on all day? Says, yeah, even into tomorrow. Then Mr. Paul, then a final summary witness. So they're saying that right now the special agent, when they're done, which is going to be into tomorrow, there's Brendan Paul and a last person who's a summary witness, and then that's it. They're done. Judge says, what witnesses would the defense be putting on Friday then? Says, we'll do 3 witnesses. Vashta Wilson. Who's that? Let's Google this. Who's Vashta Wilson? This is a vice president of operations of Bad Boy Entertainment. So it looked like not everybody's jumped ship. Vashta Wilson is going to take the stand as the VP of operations and probably to try to rebuff some of try to rebuff some of the allegations that Bad Boy was a criminal enterprise. She's probably going to testify that, hey, listen, yeah, Mr. Combs was the CEO and he could do whatever he wants, but we didn't run a criminal enterprise at all. We ran a legit business. Remember, she was vice president of operations, all right? Then we're going to have Stephen Lind. Let's see if we can find it. We're trying to find who these people are. Okay. It's Stefan Lind Orajala. Let's see who this is. Don't know who this is. It's a real estate agent. And there's a paralegal in our office. Okay? AUSA says, well, we don't have any of those charts. So the paralegal sounds like it's going to be a summary witness. And look like summary witnesses usually come with charts to kind of sum it up how shit is or maybe how shit isn't. The judge says, in terms of the defense expert, I'd like Daubert issues teed up. So we'll work on that. Shapiro says we'll be providing the government with supplemental response to Dr. Hughes' actual testimony. And Shapiro said the special agent has no personal knowledge. She's just connecting up exhibits and asking jurors to interpret them. This is not appropriate for a summary witness. It's just hotel records and flight records. Comey says Mr. Combs and Jules Theodore were discussing being in the same place at the same time. If this objection is sustained, we'll just have to have special agent read in every text message. So the witness has no personal knowledge. She put together the charts. They take a break. They come back. They came back about 30 minutes ago. And so all rise, everybody come back in. AOC Johnson says, Special Agent, have you reviewed the American Express records? Special Agent said, yes, I did. This was the Amex for the flight to Miami for Cassie Ventura. There was a charge from the London hotel to this Amex. So whose Amex is this? Sean Combs, paid with an account at Signature Bank. Says, can you read this? This is from the Trump. It's the Trump in Columbus Circle. I'm headed there now. Can you contact the front desk and get the porn channel unlocked? AUSA says, what does Ms. Ventura say? Just call them. Okay. Here is this was a Combs earlier today, surrounded by his lawyers, and looked like this might have been the scene when the juror got dismissed. This is, if you don't know, Ignifilo. This is Brian Steele. Xavier Donaldson. I believe who's standing up is Tenny Garagos. And I believe this might be Alexandra Shapiro. We could switch both of them. Anna Marie Estavio is also missing. And there's a Driscoll that's missing as well. So by the way, this has nothing to do with the photo. This one I'm about to read. Who's in these communications? It says Cassie and the Punisher. So what's this about? The cost. And this, it's about videos. AOSA says turn off the screen for the public and the press. If you don't know, the Punisher has been doing a DJ Vlad interview for a while. And here we go.
I mean, when you left the stand and you and Diddy, your eyes locked, what was that like?
And maybe I'm doing this for myself. It was relief because when I went to the stand, I was terrified, bro. Like I don't know if you recall, but when they first called me to the stand, it was about 10 minutes before lunch, and I thought I was fine, man. And I walked into the courtroom and I had like an anxiety attack. Like my body was shaking, and I looked cool and I spoke cool, but I was shaking. And I purposely avoided any eye contact. Like I didn't want to know where he was. I didn't know because I understand that I'm walking to the stand for the prosecution, right? So, and everybody else that's come up there has said crazy stuff, right? So he's probably assuming, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this guy gonna say? So I just wanted to avoid any eye contact. But I want to believe that there's an understanding that I have to testify to the truth, right? They've been taking notes and getting information from me for well over a year. And I felt like I did that, right? So I told the truth. I'm sure the details are embarrassing, but at the same time, it's the truth. And walking out, I felt I was leaving the stand with my integrity and doing the right thing. So I wanted to acknowledge them. And I looked at them. Thank God there wasn't like a death stare, you know what I'm saying? Or anything like that. And I looked at him. We locked eyes. I kind of nodded. He nodded back. And I went out the courtroom. And then I'm hoping that results in no, from his part, no negative. And I have no idea, right? But, what I was compelled to do was something I didn't have control over,
Yeah, no, I remember reading through your testimony and going like, I don't see the crime here. I don't even really understand why he's on there because it doesn't really help the prosecution. In fact, it does kind of help the defense. It shows that she's with it. I remember one of the other, I think, male escorts talked about the urinating in the mouth, and he said that Cassie asked him to do that. It was her idea.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, I originally was saying that my guess is that he's going to beat the RICO, he's going to beat the sex trafficking. He might get hit with some prostitution charges, which might be a few years at the most. With time served, he should be out soon. But then with all the crazy stuff that's coming out, with the abuse and all the witnesses, I'm thinking, well, he might actually lose this trial, but I think Trump will probably pardon him.
Yeah.
Because
so that's because when you think of the totality of it.
And look, like Trump just pardoned NBA Youngboy, Larry Hoover. He pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne before. And I had Roger Bonds here, who actually knows you. I can put you guys on FaceTime together. And he used to tell me how there were like at least 5 different occasions where he would take Diddy to go meet with Trump. And they would be behind closed doors for like 3-4 hours, just chopping it up. So they have a real relationship. Wow. And Trump seems to be real loose with that.
Yeah, with
you
that
know,
take care of his people. Yeah,
yeah, you know, with that pen in terms of letting people out. So that's what I think will happen. But ultimately, who knows? The trial is we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
you know,
still early.
So they're reading some messages with the Punisher here. He's admitted that he doesn't understand why they called him. He did give some thoughts about what he thinks that the trial is going to end with.
Now, since you took the stand, other couples have been reaching out to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like daily, man.
Daily,
bro.
Are they talking money at this point?
It's just, hey, man, I want to hire you for my wife, sending the photo. You know what I'm saying? Like text messages, this Punisher. I just say, this is the company. Like, it's actually daily, man. It's daily. And I'm not, man, I'm so paranoid, man. Like I said, dude, I'm a regular dude, man. Like, once the feds contacted me, everything feels like a setup. I'm not responding. I want no parts. I'm out of business, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, so if a couple offered you $10,000 to do something similar,
it ain't gonna get that far.
It's not gonna get that far.
It's not gonna get that far.
Okay.
You know,
I think he understands that what he did, that he got immunity for, is a crime. That's clear prostitution. But that's the only way you could get the sex workers on the stand, right? Because they operate in like, oh, this is escorting. Oh, I'm getting paid for a dance. But then the feds force them to get up there to testify, I got paid to fuck. So they're outed. They're outed as people who are pretty much prostitutes.
If you got any common sense, how do I know that's not... it could be somebody just texting me to get me to agree to it, then screenshot it, and look, Punisher's still in business. Is on the Shade Room the next day. Like, come on, man. Like, I got enough negative publicity. I don't need more, man.
Well, how do you think the trial will actually end?
Like, no Diddy, though? I hate to have to say that. If I'm him, yeah, I wouldn't do that no more. Like, oh, pay me $10,000, whatever. I'm opening up an OnlyFans. Literally, OnlyFans account. And for everybody intrigued, I'm going to dig down some of the most poppin' entertainers. Like, obviously female entertainers, but like, don't all these girls do OnlyFans now? I'm going to dig them down. That niggas could see what was really going on. You get what I'm saying? I'm going to have moves named after the Freakoff. I'm going to be like, yo, this is what we call the da-da-da-da. And everything going to start. I'm going to shoot a trailer. Like, yo, anybody old enough to know about the porn series called Onion Booty? I'm going to shoot an Onion Booty promo video with about 20 bottles of baby oil and Astroglide everywhere. Nigga, I ain't gonna lie, I think you make $1 million a month. The first month you making $1 million. You're gonna see the Punisher punish these hoes. I think that's the play. Why the hell you still doing appointments, nigga? Get on OnlyFans. Again, for all the people who's intrigued, couples or whoever.
So look, man, if I just remove myself from everything, right? I think it's too soon to say. Like, every time I hear there's weeks and weeks of testimony still going on. We don't know who's coming to the stand, what's coming on. I think when the prosecution has a witness, you hear all these things that are like, wow, this sounds crazy. And then the defense comes up and does cross, and then it creates a space of, wait a second, So it's been such a interesting, evenly matched. There's some obviously brilliant attorneys on this case.
Oh yeah,
and they're making a strong case for both sides, man. And I would hate to be a juror.
All right, Logic did update.
Day 24 of the Diddy trial, and if you're the state, the best part of your day today may have come before the jury even came into the courtroom. I am Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. I'm a New York litigator who's practiced in this very courthouse in the Southern District of New York. And
by the way, he's going to talk about Juror 6 again. You know what I'm thinking about? Remember, I said, it's kind of like odd that I think this juror was pro-Diddy. I really believe this juror is pro-Diddy. And I think they look for a reason to get this juror out. Now, remember this. Remember what Elizabeth Milner said? She's from Law and Crimes. She said, every time we looked at his juror, he always seemed nervous. He was looking up at the clock. He seemed like he was on edge, like he had a lot going on. And when you think about that, I think the AUSA started to say, why is this juror just seeming like, what's up with him? He seems mad nervous. Why does he seem mad nervous? Hopefully somebody ain't get to him. Hopefully he's not, when somebody's like got something, like they're trying to be low, but they can't be low. I'm wondering if that's what made them look more into him. Because people are saying that juror was always looking at the clock. He was always like kind of fidgety. Hey, who knows? Maybe the AUSA was like, did he pay this nigga off? Because he's moving mad weird. And all right, let's dig into his background. You know what? Better safe than sorry. Let's get him out of here. Let's get that nigga out of here.
And I'm here to break down legal perspectives as to how this trial is progressing, how well the state is doing, how well the defense is doing, and how fair the judge is being in handling this case. If that sort of thing is your deal, I urge you to please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notifications, because I'm providing coverage that no one else is even trying to provide. And when I say that they started off well, that was the highlight of the day. What I'm referring to is that the U.S. Attorney moved to have juror number 6 removed from the jury and have him replaced by an alternate. Now, the basis of this is an issue with respect to his residency. In order to qualify to serve on the jury, you have to be a resident of the state of New York. And when he was answering questions in his voir dire about that, he seemed to give very conflicting responses. In some places, he says that he's living with his girlfriend in New Jersey, and then he says it's with his daughter in New Jersey, and then he's with his girlfriend in the Bronx. And they speculate that perhaps he's really living in New Jersey, and that for purposes of maintaining his license for whatever field of occupation he's in, that he needs to maintain a New York residency, but he's not actually a New York resident, and that he was shading some of his responses to these questions because he has a very vested interest in making it and staying on the jury. And the judge ended up agreeing with the state and removing juror number 6. And the reason this is particularly significant is because juror number 6 is the lone black male on the jury. So we have no more black men on this jury. We have a couple of black women, and most of the jury composition seems to be older white people, older than I am. That's a couple of folks who look younger than me. But there's a lot of gray beards in this jury, both men and women. Not speculating about the women having gray beards, but you understand what I'm saying. And the defense was obviously very upset about this. They had raised, before the trial even started, they had issues that they felt that the state was purposefully trying to remove black people from the jury, and raised an issue like that to the judge. And the judge specifically said that he takes that charge very seriously and said that he's found absolutely no indication that anything that the state has done during the jury selection process or with respect to trying to remove juror number 6 was in any way, shape, or form motivated by race. He certainly seems to be doing his best to try to curtail a potential appeal with his defiant findings of fact as to how the state has been conducting itself. So, because questions of fact will be far more difficult to be overturned on issues of appeal. And he even pointed to Xavier Donaldson, who was one of the members of the Diddy defense team, who complimented the jury process as working fairly to try and strengthen the legitimacy of his finding that this is not a race-based decision. And race certainly cannot be discounted as something that is likely a significant factor. Either you can look at it, and this is not exclusive, this is far from exclusive to this case. For a century now, attorneys have always felt that trying to load up the jury with a demographic that seems likely to be favorable to your particular side is an important part of the jury selection process, and the Supreme Court has banished anyone from being able to, and has outlawed the right of attorneys to try and remove people purely on the basis of their particular demographic. So this is not something that's new. It's as old as litigation itself. The question as far in this particular case, when you're talking about rap star, and especially when there might be things that play into the cultural differences, you can see how race could, in theory, play a significant role, whether with respect to proper interactions between men and women, with respect to a personal affinity, that there's an expectation that a black man may likely have a more of an interest in the celebrity status of a Diddy than, let's say, a 70-year-old white woman. That's not like a crazy conclusion to reach. So it's not surprising that in this particular case, both parties would be very conscious about it, but at the same time, intelligent enough to recognize that there has to be legitimacy to where you're coming from here. The last part I'm giving you here is speculation about pragmatically the practice rather than what's the theoretical legal perspective on these things. I'm just trying to be as real with you as possible. Now, the first witness who came up for the state today was Ananya Senkar. She's a U.S. paralegal who reviewed charts that were put together to ensure that these charts, which are supposed to show various text exchanges and communications, to try and simplify it for the jury. So she came in to vouch for the fact that the different things that were put into the chart were actually established by evidence that has been properly put before this court. So she would basically look through they put together a chart of different text messages, and each one she corroborates that this one ties into exhibit C-104, and that put together a timeline to try and put together exactly how, something that's much more comprehensible for the jury than what we've seen so far. The testimony itself, I haven't got a chance to look through the chart. The testimony itself was pretty boring. I mean, it sounded as if a lot of the stuff that's put into this, and it's only 33 pages, and although there are numerous charts, this is the chart that we were looking at, it's a lot of conversations that don't even seem to really prove very much. I was left wondering about the relevance of a lot of the different conversations, like conversations between D-Rock, one of Diddy's security guards, and Mia, who's a personal assistant who worked for Diddy, where she's on vacation and saying, yeah, she feels great, to finally get away. I'm like, I don't even know why they put this in here. This is part of their summary. I don't even understand it. I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff in there that's more relevant, but it just seemed like it wasn't really helping draw your attention to the factors which will lead a jury to conclude that they should convict. At least from that was my personal takeaway from it. I was very, very bored by it. On cross-examination, we got we had Tenny Garagos come up, and she was trying to establish that there's a lot of gaps even in the middle of a conversation that's happening there, that the U.S. attorney was specifically selecting certain messages that they felt would help their case and leaving out other things that might hurt the context of what you're seeing in this synopsis, which I guess is certainly a fair point to make. I was talking to someone else about, like, what are you taking from this witness that might be helping the state? He said, I think it might be bolstering Mia, her testimony. It could be bolstering perhaps Cassie and help to find the credibility. And if he found that, it's possible that some jurors may find that as well. I personally didn't find it to be very compelling. But again, that's my personal takeaway as opposed to what could be taken from it, and clearly others have. And it's possible that other members of the jury have taken away some further corroboration to support the testimony that we've previously heard. The last witness we had, who's only been on the stand so far for 15 minutes or 25 minutes of direct testimony, is an investigator from the U.S. Attorney's Office who has her own charts, and these charts to me are a little bit more compelling in that these are the first chart we were looking at so far is supposed to be documenting the different meetings.
Yeah, my boy needed an umbrella, man. It's kind of raining, eh?
Poorly attended, and Diddy attending with Cassie, or I guess we're going to see, we haven't seen yet, we'll see with Jane and other. When they call meetings, they're referring to, it seems like so far from what we've seen, freakoffs and hotel nights. And this is where we have really the first real introduction of hardcore evidence, forensic evidence, to try and tie in the charge number 4 and charge number 5. That is the two charges, those are the smallest charges, which carry a maximum 10-year sentence for interstate transportation for the purposes of engaging in illegal sexual activity. Now, specifically they're referring to flying in various entertainers, porn stars from interstate for the purposes of engaging in commercial sex or legal sex, and that those charges, that as far as the forensic evidence, so what we have from this witness, she brought up that she showed us a text exchange between Diddy and a performer by the name of Jules. He was in Los Angeles, and that Diddy was flying him into New York City to perform at the London Hotel between December 11, 2009 and December 13th of 2009. And they show the text exchange, which was kind of a little interesting there, where Jules seems as if he has a woman at home who doesn't like the idea of him going to New York and is suspicious that he's going there to engage in things involving Diddy and Cassie. So he said, I'm going to need you to send me a text which is going to help me out here. And he said, call me so we can work this out. And Diddy sends a text after they have a brief phone call, and Diddy sends a text saying, yeah, I'm not going to be in New York, I'm going to be in Chicago, I've got a show to do, and Cassie's in London. So and then he's like, and then the next response from Jules is, okay, that worked. So when are we coming in here? He's like, okay, I'll have you come in here on Friday and I'll fly you out. And then the next exhibit that was shared with us was an email from Diddy to his manager, Tony Bias, telling him that he needed her to arrange a flight under the name Jules Theodore, which that's Jules' full name, and from LA on Friday from LA to New York, and also booking a hotel in New York called London. So maybe that's what Diddy meant when he said as far as Cassie's going to be in London. But it's their own little inside joke there. So yeah, that's what we had. Now with respect to the defense, one of the things that we should expect to see from the defense on cross is that Tenny was raising that she didn't like that the state on direct keeps referring to this as a meeting. If you think about it, technically what we have here is arrangements that would enable him to fly in, but there's no one who knows that he did fly in. There's no testimony from Jules saying that he's flown in, so we don't know that he's flown in, or as far as that he flew in on that particular date. And that's probably where the defense is looking to attack on this. They're probably looking to attack and say, just because they discussed it and just because there was a flight arrangement and they booked a hotel, which we have evidence of a reservation being made as well, that doesn't mean that he actually came. And if Cassie cannot remember that particular incident, or if we don't have anyone testifying that he actually showed up there, in that case, in theory, they might be able to puncture a hole in that charge. Like I said, the 4th and 5th charges for interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution. So that's where we're at so far. If you like this type of content, I urge you make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that bell so you get all notifications. And
okay, back in court, I believe. All right. It said we're not playing for the council. What is this? During the public lull, agent is Delissa Penlin. She also appears in, among cases, U.S. versus Lawrence Shireen. This is the old video here.
Same question. Who authorized it? If you told Judge Stein that it was authorized, who authorized it? So. Now, this is Miss Lorraine Shanley. She just received a very light sentence plea deal of 27 months for stealing $400,000 from a foundation for police officers killed in the line of duty. It's true. It's true. Now, she faced up to a maximum of 48 years, but the U.S. Attorney's Office pleaded it down to a range of 27 to 33 months. And in her allocution, she said nothing was wrong. She said nothing had gone wrong. She did nothing wrong. She thought she was entitled to the money. So it seemed entirely fair on the elevator to ask, who authorized you? She said, I was authorized. But now she realized it was a mistake of judgment, this theft of $400,000. Now, in fairness, she herself is a police widow, and she does have, she says, a developmentally impinged grandchild. But you can't just steal money that's raised for a foundation for yourself. Or you can, but then you should answer, if you say it's authorized, you should say, who authorized you? It seems to me. And the prosecutor should answer why they hammer some guy from Bed-Stuy for 20 years and you steal from...
Okay, this is about an old case, but it didn't say anything. Anyway, AUSA Johnson says we're not seeing it. So Ms. Johnson, we're not seeing it. That's a judge. AUSA says play from 10:30 to 11 minutes. Special Agent Penlin. I want to direct your attention to line 23. I'll read Combs, you read Ventura. AUSA says it's Combs. Are you horny? Would you want to have a freak off? Wow. I didn't know Diddy was texting like that. As Cassie, it says, call Jules. Can you send me the hotel information? About a smoke, what are you doing? Combs says, what up? Cassie says, I asked him to drive around and we'll hit him up when we want him to come up. Okay. Still waiting for some more tweets. It's kind of churning in a little bit slow today. It's churning in really slow today, actually. Hey, did y'all see? We'll switch to a different subject real quick. So, a lot of people have their opinions about Carter 6. A lot of people are calling it complete thraga, garbage, terrible. And someone who is pretty much really close to the situation doesn't like what y'all are saying. Now, it's none other than Lil Wayne's own daughter, Regina Carter, who is basically saying, yo, listen, the reason why y'all think this shit ain't hot, y'all think it ain't hot because y'all are too used to TikTok music, okay? What my pops does is way more than TikTok music, and everybody loves it. This is what she said.
Carter 6, you say Carter 6 is trash. That's fine. That's what you want to say. But let me tell you something about my father and Carter 6. This is what I hate about you kids. The fact that y'all can get on TikTok and do a fucking dance to it, that don't mean that it's trash, babe. Okay? The fact that you can't get on TikTok and do a little 1-2 little viral moment for it, that don't mean that it's trash, babe. my dad was talking real shit. It's stuff on that album that you can hear in 2K, in games, at fucking malls, at all type of stuff. It's universal, my love. Y'all need to take y'all minds out of the TikTok world and get to the real bag. Whereas my dad is a lyricist, babe. My dad really talks shit. So if you can't understand it, please move silent like the GM lasagna and get the fuck out of here. Thanks. Now that's my last song. Because I already said that I'm not about to be cussing because y'all already heard me cussing crazy. And y'all was like, wait a minute, I didn't know that top of that. So hold up. I'm just trying to tell y'all, don't play about the parents. It's just like I got so good though, because like I really did calm down. Like y'all know I used to tweet everybody and be at everybody's back, like when they talk about my parents. But I'm like, I let it go, I let it whatever. But it's like sometimes you have to put yourself in our shoes. Yeah, we are in the industry, and yeah, people are gonna speak on you, people are gonna whatever you put out there. But it's like, we are still humans at the end of the day. We all bleed the same. If you cut, I'm gonna be black. It's gonna be red, both of us. So it's like, yes, I know the life that I have, and I know the life that I'm a part of, and I know that people are gonna hate. I know that people are gonna have their own opinions and all of that type of stuff. But you gotta also know that I'm human like you. So put yourself in my shoes. Where you got 100 million people just talking crazy. You never even met them a day in your life, and then they talking crazy about your people. And you got a chance to speak on it, to directly speak on it, like not go on no internet about it, directly to the motherfucker. I'm gonna do that every time, but I'm not actually, because I'm actually gonna just pray about it and really.
Okay. Now, let me just let Regina Carter off the hook. She's a female. So I ain't gonna say nothing to her because they gonna make it act on like women. She's Lil Wayne's daughter. Let's get her out of the way. Move. We gotta be honest, man. I told y'all this a while ago. Y'all didn't want to believe me. I said Lil Wayne is the Allen Iverson of music, of hip hop. Why I said that is that when Allen Iverson was in his prime, he even drew comparisons to Jordan because of his cultural impact, his razzling, dazzling, pizzazz, and all these things you heard in his new style and crossover, you know what I mean, all of that. Similar to Wayne, but I said Allen Iverson's legacy in the NBA, it aged terribly. Allen Iverson is my favorite basketball player of all time. This means no disrespect. Because after retirement or post his prime, yeah, people remember the era.
So the Diddy and Cassie situation has been getting freakier and freakier by the day. The more and more I hear about these allegations, Diddy is a freaky man, the king of the freakoffs. And Cassie, you feel me? She was young, vulnerable. But like what Ak said, she could have left. Like, Diddy was not holding her. Well, you know, this is what's hard for me. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't holding her hostage, but she said on the video that came out in the hotel where he hit her over and drug her back, she was trying to leave one of the freakoffs. And Diddy said, oh no, you're not going to leave the freakoffs. You got it. Yeah. Wait till the dude, bust a nut, allegedly. Then all over you, then scrape it off, go in the other room and rub it on my nipples. That's what he wanted. It sounds so crazy to say, but that's what Diddy wanted. Like, we seen him in the robe. I thought he was just fresh out the shower, but allegedly he was probably butt naked. I'm surprised it was no baby oil on her or him, or she wiped it off. That's why he was so mad it was no baby oil on. Hey man, I genuinely feel bad for Cassie. I feel bad for her husband too, because he has to be in court and he's listening to all these things. And I don't really think Cassie's lying about anything. Like, Cassie just seems like a nice girl, probably like gentle, innocent, like, and she just wanted a career. Like, man, I'm struggling here because I want to be very, very honest about everything, like my point of view. I don't think Diddy was the best of best people, and I think everything he did to Cassie was wrong, and it was definitely manipulative and all that stuff. But like, is it sex trafficking though? Like, this is what he's charged for. Like, domestic violence, yes. Assault, yes. Like, probably a bunch of other crazy stuff, yes. But sex trafficking, bro, I don't know if you could say he was sex trafficking. But it's only day 2 of the trial. And I'm gonna be very, very unbiased about every single thing I say. It's day 2 of the trial. Diddy is he's there every day. They say that he's looking white as hell, he's gray as hell. He's, you feel me? They said he was looking at Cassie the whole time. But day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe 2 weeks later, there might be someone else taking the stand, and we don't know how that's gonna go. Maybe like 3 days later, there's gonna be a new person taking the stand, and they just expose everything about Diddy. Like, we don't know fully everything Diddy's done yet. Like, there might have been men that he was having freakoffs with. Like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, Act was the line about what he said. Diddy should just came out and said that he was a flexible, bro. He should just said he was bisexual, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And what Act said, bro, all these rappers gotta come out who was around Diddy, like really, really hung around Diddy and was like really cool with him. They need to come out and like, yeah, bro. You gotta defend yourself, your integrity. You feel me? But your boy Big Act News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And do you feel like Diddy's innocent, or do you feel like he's guilty? And we're talking about sex trafficking. Like, we're not talking about is he a good person or not. Do you think he's guilty of sex trafficking, Cassie? It's your boy Big Act News, and I'm out.